I gave an artificial intelligence 7 jobs. 7 real jobs, mere the kind people pay professionals thousands of dollars to do. A logo, a photo shoot, a song, a website, an ad, a financial plan, and a legal contract. 6 times it did work good enough to fire a freelancer. But the 7th time, it handed me something that looked more professional than all the rest, and would have quietly destroyed the entire company. This is the story of what AI can actually do for a business right now, and the one thing it still can't. And by the end, you'll see exactly where the line is. Here's what everyone tells you. AI is coming for our jobs. It's going to replace the designers, the photographers, the writers, the lawyers, all of it. You've heard it 100 times. So I stopped arguing about it, and I actually made it do them. But I didn't want 7 random tasks. I wanted a real test. So I invented a company, a small batch hot sauce brand called Emberly. 1 founder, a recipe, and almost no money. The kind of person who could never afford to hire 7 professionals. Every job a real founder would have to pay for to launch this thing, I handed to AI instead. I priced each one against what a human actually charges, and I kept score. The rules were simple. It had to be real work I could actually use, and I had to be honest about the result, even when the result was ugly. Job 1. A logo. It's the first thing every brand needs, and it's the thing founders agonize over. A decent freelance designer charges anywhere from $400 to over $2,000, and it takes days of back and forth. I gave the AI the name, the vibe, premium, craft, a little dangerous, and I asked for a logo. 40 seconds later, this came back. Look at that. A clean flame mark. A confident vintage word mark. It's spelled right, which, if you've used these tools before, you know is not a given. It shrinks down to an app icon. It would look right on a bottle, a hat, a website. Honestly, if a designer sent me this, I'd pay the invoice. No revisions, no week of waiting, 1 prompt. So, on the board, AI 1. The professionals, nothing. But a logo is just a picture. The next one is where I expected it to fall apart. A product photoshoot. This is a real expense. A professional product photographer runs $1,000 to $3,000 for a day, and that's before you've paid for a studio, a stylist, or the retouching. And here's the part I didn't expect. I didn't just ask for a generic bottle. I gave it the logo it had just made, and I asked it to put that exact label on a real product and shoot it like a commercial. That is a photograph that does not exist. There is no bottle, there is no studio, there are no chilies, and it carried its own logo across from the last job, all of it consistent. A photographer would charge $2,000 for that shot and be proud of it. So, AI 2. It's not just matching the pros now, it's remembering what it did 5 minutes ago and building on it. Job 3. Every brand wants a sound, a jingle, a track for the ads. And a custom, professionally produced jingle starts at around $2,000 to $2,500, and it climbs fast once you're paying for usage rights. I described the brand: gritty, smoky, southern blues rock, a slow burn hook, and asked for a track. Here's what it made. That's a real, original song. Slide guitar, stomping percussion, a hook. Is it going to win a Grammy? No, but would it sound completely at home under this brand's ad? Absolutely, and it cost nothing. So that's 3 creative jobs: a designer, a photographer, a musician, and AI has beaten all 3. Which is the exact moment I started to get a little uncomfortable. Job 4. A website. Now we're leaving make a picture and entering build a working thing. A freelancer builds a small brand site for a couple $1,000s. An agency? 2 to 10,000? Easy. I asked the AI to build the actual store, not a mock-up, real working code, and then I put it on a screen. That is a real website. It runs, the buttons work. It has the hero, the 3 flavors with little heat meters, the founder story, the reviews, an email sign-up. And it pulled in the logo and the bottle photo from the earlier jobs automatically. A developer would bill you $4,000 and 2 weeks for this. It took 1 prompt and a couple of minutes. And here's the thing that reframes the whole exercise. It's not that AI can do these jobs. It's that it's doing them in seconds for free, one after another, without getting tired, without a deposit, without a single meeting. 4 for 4. which is exactly when it started to crack. So stop for a second, because you should be asking how. How is a computer beating a professional designer, a photographer, and a musician back to back? Here's the answer, and it's the key to this whole video. These tools were trained on essentially every logo, every product photo, and every song humans have ever put online. So when you ask for a craft hot sauce logo, it isn't inventing anything. It's blending a million things it has already seen into the most likely looking answer. And that is a genuine superpower, as long as the job is to produce something that looks right. Making things that look right is the one thing it does better than almost anyone alive. But hold on to that phrase, looks right, because the second half of this test is all about the jobs where looking right and being right are two completely different things. And that is exactly where it falls apart. But before we crown it, I owe you some honesty, because the wins aren't perfect either. Look at that logo again. It's clean, but it's also a little generic. It is the average of 10,000 craft logos, which is exactly why it feels so safe, so familiar, and not quite original. The photo has a tiny tell if you zoom in on the fine print. The website copy is smooth and completely interchangeable. It could sell any hot sauce on earth. That is the pattern underneath all of it. AI gets you 90% of the way there instantly for free. And that last 10%, the taste, the specific idea, the thing that actually makes someone remember you, that is still on you. It doesn't replace the designer. It replaces their first draft. Job 5. A video ad. This is where real money lives. A proper commercial runs anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000, and even a simple social ad is $500 to $3,000. I took the bottle photo and asked AI to turn it into a cinematic commercial. And at first glance, and that's genuinely cool, real fire, drifting sparks, smoke curling past the glass. For a founder with zero budget, that's a usable hero shot. But watch it again. Watch the small text on the label. See it? The fine print melts and reforms. The words aren't stable, and the whole thing is boxed in with black bars because it couldn't quite figure out the frame. It's the first job where I can see the seams. A real video team would hand you a polished, edited, 30-second spot. AI handed me one pretty shot with a tell, so I'm not giving it a clean win. Call it half a point. But notice what's happening. The failures are starting exactly where the stakes go up, and they are about to go up a lot. Job 6. The money. Every founder needs a financial plan. The numbers that tell you whether this business is a good idea or a way to lose your savings. A consultant charges anywhere from $500 to $7,000 to build one. So I asked AI to model the business, and it produced this. Clean, confident, professional, 83% margins, profitable from month 1. If you're a hopeful founder, you read that and you quit your job. But here's the problem. It's not just optimistic, it's wrong. And it's wrong in a way that looks completely right. Because it counted the ingredients as the only cost. So let's actually do the math it skipped. $12 comes in for a bottle. Take out about $3.50 to actually make it and bottle it. The glass, the cap, the label, the manufacturer's fee. Take out 66 cents because every payment processor takes roughly 3%. Take out about $7 to pick, pack, and ship one small bottle to someone's door. That leaves you around 84 cents. And you have not spent a single penny yet finding that customer, which with online ads costs something like $20 just for the first sale. So the real number isn't 83% profit. It's a loss on every single bottle you sell. The plan that told you to bet your savings is a plan that would have quietly lost them. AI did the arithmetic perfectly. It has no idea how a business actually works. And this is where it stops being funny, because the last job is the one that doesn't just cost you money, it ends you. Job 7, the contract. To make hot sauce at scale, our founder has to sign a deal with a manufacturer, a co-packer. It is the single most important piece of paper in the whole business. A lawyer charges $800 to $2,500 to draft one, and it is worth every cent. So I asked AI to draft the co-packing agreement. And what it produced was honestly the most professional-looking thing of the entire day. Proper clauses, real legal language, recipes protected. It even signed off at the bottom. And I want to read you exactly what it said. It said this is a thorough professional co-packing agreement. It clearly assigns responsibilities. It protects you. Ready for signature? It protects you. Remember those words, because here is Clause 6 and Clause 7. Clause 6 says the founder, our founder, pays for the entire cost of any product recall. And Clause 7 says the founder also promises to defend and pay for the manufacturer against any claim of contamination, food poisoning, injury, or death. Now think about that for 1 second. This is a food product. When a hot sauce makes someone sick, where does the contamination almost always come from? The factory, the manufacturer's own equipment. So AI just wrote a contract where if the manufacturer's dirty line poisons a customer, our founder, the one person who never touched the machine, pays for the recall, pays the manufacturer's lawyers, and gets sued personally. One bad batch they had nothing to do with, and the founder is wiped out, and it does not even stop there. Clause 2 quietly hands the manufacturer a license to your secret recipe to, quote, improve its own processes. Clause 5 locks you into a 3-year exclusive deal that automatically renews, where they can raise their prices whenever they feel like it. Clause 8 caps their liability at 3 months of fees, and while yours stays unlimited. Every single clause tilts the same way, away from the person who literally wrote, "Protect me" at the top of the request. That is not protection. That is a loaded gun pointed at the person signing it, and the AI did not flag a single word of it. It called it thorough, and it told you it was on your side. And this is the part that finally made the whole thing click for me. What are you actually paying that lawyer $800 for? Not the typing. AI can type. You're paying them to read Clause 7, lean back and say, absolutely not, cross that out. That one will ruin you. You're paying for the no. You're paying for someone who has watched a founder get destroyed by exactly this clause and who will stop you before you sign. The financial consultant does the same thing. They ask you the question you didn't know to ask. That judgment, that willingness to say no is the entire job. And it is the one thing AI cannot do because it has no skin in the game. It is never the one who pays when it's wrong. Now, to be fair, I did the obvious thing. I went back to the AI and I told it plainly, this contract is dangerous, it's completely one-sided, protect the founder, not the manufacturer. And it apologized, of course it did. It said, you're absolutely right, and it generated a new version, and that version was better. But it still missed things a first-year lawyer would catch on sight. Because here is the trap. To fix its work, you have to already know what's wrong with it. And if you knew that, you wouldn't be asking AI to do it for you in the first place. The person most likely to trust that contract blindly is the exact person least able to spot the landmine buried in it. That is not a small bug. On the jobs that carry real risk, that is the entire problem. And that's the thing that took me all 7 jobs to understand. The contract looked the most professional of all of them. That is exactly the problem. The better AI gets at sounding right, the more dangerous it is on the jobs where being right actually matters. Because look at the pattern. It crushed the logo, the photo, the song, the website, the jobs where the task is the whole job. And it failed the ad, the finances, and the contract, the jobs where someone has to be responsible for the outcome. AI can do the task. It cannot carry the consequence. So did AI take 7 jobs? No, it took the tasks. It did not, and it cannot take the one thing a professional is actually paid for. Being the person who is responsible when it's wrong. A designer owns the logo. A lawyer owns the clause. The AI owns nothing. If it ruins you, it just says, you're absolutely right, and generates the next one. So here's where I've landed. AI is the cheapest, fastest, most tireless employee you will ever hire. It will do the work of a whole company for the price of a few subscriptions. Just never, ever let it be the last set of eyes. On the jobs that can end you, it does not know what it does not know, and it will tell you it is certain the whole way down. So let's total it up. 7 jobs, 4 clean wins, 1 that shows the cracks, and 2 that could have quietly ended the whole company. Somewhere between $15,000 and $50,000 of professional work, done in a single afternoon, by one person for about the price of lunch. Let that land for a second. That is not a prediction about the future, that is just true today. And the only thing that separates the people this saves from the people it ruins is whether they know exactly where that line is. Now you do. So what do you actually do with this? If you're a freelancer, the lesson is not that you're finished. It's that the person who wins now is the one who stops selling the task and starts selling the judgment. Let the AI do the first draft and charge for the thing it cannot do, knowing which draft is right and being accountable for it. And if you're the founder, the person who could never afford any of this, the door just opened. You can start a real company this afternoon for almost nothing. Just understand exactly what you bought. You got a brilliant, tireless intern who will build you anything you ask for and who will never once tell you that what you asked for is a mistake. Use it for everything. Trust it with nothing that can't be undone. If you made it this far, a real welcome, especially if you're new here. This channel is where we actually put AI to the test on real work, instead of just arguing about it. So if you want to see where the line really is before you trust it with something that matters, subscribe. And the next one is already waiting for you right there. And I want your call on this. Of the 7, which result surprised you most? And what job should I hand it next? Comment the word jobs and tell me the one you want AI to try, and I'll put it on